Alright guys, we are back in my garage for another video, and today we are going to be doing another upgrade to my 440i. You guys have seen my previous videos where I've done a lot of modifications to improve the engine performance, and now we're going in a different direction and improving the sound quality. If you guys go way back in my video history, you'll see I actually have a lot of experience improving audio systems. Back in the day, I used to, do subwoofer setups and things like that, and kind of a lot of the same ideas that I do with my car. Try to use the most efficient use of my space to custom fabricate subwoofer boxes and things so that you could get the best performance out of your audio system. Now, ever since then, obviously, I've switched gears, but I've always wished I could have some of that performance without taking the major weight penalty that comes with adding a bunch of amplifiers and things like that. And the good news is we finally have a solution from Bimmertech. And so today we're going to be fixing that with the new Bimmertech upgrade. Their Alpha 1 Lightwave audio solution is going to help improve the Harman Kardon audio that came with our cars and still give us better clarity and more volume so we can get some better overall performance. And the best news is this upgrade is completely plug and play. So in this video, we'll unbox it, take a look at what you get, and we'll show how you can install it on your F-Series BMW to take advantage of some better audio performance. So hopefully you guys find this video useful. Now, as always, for everybody that's new to the channel, I create these videos to help keep you updated on the latest developments in our community, as well as discuss technical topics so that we have a better understanding of how our engines work. So if you're interested in more videos like that, be sure to subscribe because there will be a lot more coming out in the future. All right, so let's go ahead and unbox this new kit. So again, this is the Lightwave amp made by Bimmertech, and we can pop this off. All right, as you can see, there's a lot going on in here, but this is the main amplifier. So this is what we're going to be installing in the car. And then it comes with all of the harnesses and everything you need to plug this directly into your car. So this basically mounts inside of your trunk where the stock one is installed. There's a little bracket there holding it up, but yeah, we'll basically run this harness to adapt it to work with this plug and play amplifier, and then it really should be pretty simple once we access it. So lots of other, again, accessories and stuff in case you want to add in extra hardware. It also comes with instructions, so if you want to review that, you can. And then also, to make this even easier, we've got the DIY Essentials kit. So this is actually going to be a toolkit that you can use to install everything. Let's get this out of the way. But this will be an install kit that you can use, and it comes with all the tools you need to actually install this kit, just to make it easier. So nicely packaged. And yeah, it comes with a bunch of eTorx bits, sockets, actual wrench, a pick tool, and an adapter for the bits as well. So this comes with everything that you'll need to actually install it easily. And the good news is, if you guys use my coupon code AO-KERN417YT, you will get this for free with any order over $500. So this just, again, makes it easy to make sure that you have all the tools you need and you're not looking for anything extra. So this is actually what we'll use to install it on my car today. But again, a big shout out and thank you to Bimmertech for sponsoring this video. And let's go ahead and get this installed on my 440i. Everything we need to do is in the trunk of the car. So of course, the first step is to pop the trunk. Locate your battery. Usually it's on the right side behind this panel, and use a 10mm socket to loosen and unhook the negative terminal from the battery for safety. This will just avoid any electrical issues that could short or damage your amplifier. Then we're going to remove the trunk trim panel. There are 4 push pins that need to be removed. If you have a trim tool, that will make this job a lot easier, and you can also get this from Bimmertech, but I just used the pick tool to show that this can get it off as well. First, remove the smaller circle pin in the middle, then remove the larger clip that actually goes into the holes. There should be 4 total. Then you can remove this weather stripping on top of it and lift up the trunk floor to remove the rear trim panel. Then at this point, I remembered I needed to remove the entire trunk floor anyway, so just lift and pull that out as well. Then remove the lower storage panel by removing the push pin that's up in the corner. Again, pop out the center pin and then the clip, just like the others. Now we can remove the side panel to access the amp. Since I have a 4 Series, it's harder to get into the rear seat area, so I was lazy and only removed the trim that I needed to. At the bottom there is a hook. Unclip the cover and then use a Torx bit to remove the screw holding it down. There are also more push pins around the quarter panel that you can remove. I focused on the ones that were rearward so I could just swing the panel out with enough space to access the amp. So work your way around carefully until you can pull the panel out of the way. And of course, don't forget the rear power port as well. You just need to pry that out and then unplug the connector to release it. The trim panel wraps around the trunk hinge, so you'll want to slide out the trim from the plastic clip holding it in place. It pulls out on one side, so just use a light to see what you're doing and it will make sense. Then you can pull it out from the side of the car and you can see the amp setup behind it on the trunk floor. Use a 10mm socket to remove the nut that's holding the cover in place, then pull off the tab and it will swing up and out of the way. Then there's another screw holding on the mounting bracket, so use your wrench to remove that. Then with it removed, you can push the whole mounting bracket forward towards the front of the car, and that will release it from the hooks that are holding it down. Then lift it up, and you'll see on the back side there is one other screw holding the amp onto the mounting bracket. Unscrew that, and then start unplugging all the connectors. The smaller ones are easier, just push on the tab and pull them out. And then while I was working on the larger one, you can see my amp came off the bracket. So it's pretty easy to do. If you look at the bottom of the mounting bracket, you'll see that the amp basically just slides in and wedges into place on these angled slots. So push it out and it'll come off the mounting bracket. Now the larger plug, as you can see, you need to slide the cover off to release it. It takes a lot of force, so just take your time. As you slide it out, the plug will begin to push itself out, and then once it's released, it will come out the rest of the way. Now it's time to prepare the amp for install. We have all the wires that came with the kit, including the plug-and-play harness, the power and ground cables, and this USB cable. The extra connector will be used when we go back to the car for the fiber optic cable, so just put that to the side for now. You can also plug these in while you're in the car, but for me it was easier to do it on a bench. Just kind of depends on your personal preference. Unwrap the wire ties that are holding all the wires together, and then plug in the USB cable into the smaller port. Remove the gray plug so it's easier to install the fiber optic cable when that's ready to be connected. The positive and negative cables go in on the other side. It takes some force, so just make sure you push them all the way in until they click. And then there's the main plug. The purple swing arm will clip into place, so you need to basically swing it forward to install it, and that will suck it into the amp. Once it's plugged in, slowly swing the arm back, and it should suck the plug into the amp until it's fully seated. Now we need to transfer the fiber optic cable to its new connector. You can identify them pretty easily just by looking at the plug. You'll see they have these two terminals that look completely different than the others. So that's what we're going to swap over. To remove it from the main harness, cut back some of the tape so the green wires are loose, and then use your pick tool to pry this tab over and then pull out the wires. Then grab that extra connector that came with the amp kit and plug the fiber optic cable into that plug. Now, as always, the install is generally the reverse of removal. The same slots that you saw on the mounting bracket correspond to tabs on the amp. Line up the tabs with the slots on the bracket, and then slide the amp into the bracket until it's fully seated. Screw it down onto the bracket so it's secured, and don't forget to plug in the fiber optic cable, and then place the amp and the mounting bracket back in the original location. It should slide back into place with some force. Again, just take your time, and then you're going to go ahead and put that last screw on to secure it down and lock it in place. Plug the main harness into the amp harness. Remember, you need to seat them together, so slide the clip over to suck the connectors together and lock them in place. You can see here in the close-up how it works. As you slide it across, the pin basically runs along that path to hold the two together. Next, let's move our attention to the positive and negative cables. So the first one is our negative wire. The negative port mounted in the wheel well is a great location for a good ground. Remove that nut and place the negative wire terminal on the post and then tighten the nut down to secure it. Then we'll move over to the power wire. It needs to run to the battery to give the amp power. run the red wire across the trunk floor and under this trim panel, then remove the nut on top of the positive battery terminal wire. I also have a low pressure fuel pump wired up to this, so I tried to get creative and route the wire back behind the battery, then bring it up and onto the positive terminal from the back. Then, just like before, secure the nuts and hold the wire down. Back by the amp, you can use some zip ties to clean everything up, place the cover on top and secure it with the 10mm nut, and then reinstall all of the trunk trim that you removed. Alright, so we are back in the car, and now we can finally test out our new audio upgrade to see if it was worth it. Now, I did find some music that was royalty free, so we can kind of test this out and see how it sounds. No, but in all seriousness, with a video like this, I can't truly illustrate how this audio system improves, things for your sound. I have been using it for a couple days at this point, and I can definitely say it is a significant improvement. Now, I think one of the biggest things that I feel like improved in this new upgrade is just the volume. It is way louder and clearer than it used to be. When you first turn on the car, you're going to notice it immediately because they do turn up the gain. So even with the setting that keeps your volume low when you first turn on the car, it's definitely going to be louder than it was before. And as you turn it up, you just get even more volume. So it increases the headroom for how much you can turn up your audio system. I have a lot of mechanical sympathy for my audio system, so I don't turn the volume over 50%. And that's probably pretty conservative, but most people will tell you if you turn it too high, the volume isn't really what hurts the speakers by itself. It's the harshness. You start getting bad signals and crappy quality coming out of your audio, and it'll damage your speakers really quickly. It's kind of like boosting your engine. If you get really hard torque, way down low, it's a recipe for damaging things, breaking axles, transmissions, things like that. But if you have smooth, controlled boost onset, then you can make a lot of power and torque without, having any issues. And it's the same thing with your speakers. You really need to make sure you have clear audio before you increase the volume. Otherwise, that harshness will tear up your speakers really quickly. So this gives you the clarity that you need so that you can make the volume louder. And now I never even turn it up, over 50%. For me, it's also important to be able to hear my music while I'm driving. In the summer, I like to have my windows down. So when I'm on the highway, you've got all the wind noise and everything going on, and I want to be able to hear my music as well. Now, you might be asking, why do you want to have your windows down with the wind noise and hear your exhaust and hear your music at the same time? Because I like to party. I don't know what to tell you, but at the end of the day, it meets my expectations there for sure. And also just having the extra adjustability in your iDrive, all of that is still maintained, so you can adjust your equalizer. The Logic 7 sound still works. That toggle actually switches you between two different sound profiles that Bimmertech tuned into your amplifier, so you can switch that on and off depending on the audio you're listening to see which one works best for you or which one you prefer, so that's cool. And yeah, the equalizer for me, I just left it flat. That's what they recommend. I'm one of those guys that always turns up the bass and always turns up the treble so I can hear more low frequencies and still maintain the clarity and hear the voices, in the audio I'm listening to. But here, completely flat, it sounds amazing to me. I'm not going to touch it. I actually started adjusting it at first and it was not sounding the way that I wanted it to. So putting it back flat worked perfectly. So if you want to adjust those settings, it does still work. Everything in your iDrive tone setting still works, but just leaving it at the default settings for me definitely worked the best. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Definitely check it out. Again, I'll have a link down in the video description, and if you use my code, you can get a free essentials kit with an order of $500 or more. And a big thank you to Bimmertech for helping me finally fix one of the things I thought I was never going to fix about this car. I was so focused on performance, I just assumed this was always going to be lacking, and now it's amazing. It's perfect. This is exactly what I needed. I can only imagine what it would sound like if I paired it with some speakers. So maybe we'll do that in the future. Stay tuned for more. But yeah, for now, I think that's it for this video. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.